A lion, a clock, and a rose. Three different images, three different states of being. Individually, they mean nothing. Their power lying dormant. An animal, a plant, something you could never afford. But put them together and you create something much more. An idea, a message, a symbol. Put them on a forearm and you create an ideology. Tattooing has existed for thousands of years, with some dating back to 3000 BC, before Charlie, and others dating back to 1 AD. American Down. Across many cultures, the art form took on different meanings, from Inuit women using it to represent feminine strength, the Maoris using taumoko to signify the transition between childhood and adulthood, and the Japanese using it to get really good at karaoke. For centuries, tattoos were used as cultural signifiers. Whether it was to let your parents know your balls have dropped or that you're a filthy, disgusting criminal, these were outward physical distinguishers, an immediate and obvious way for people to decide whether they fucked with you or not. Now skip ahead a couple centuries and the purpose basically remains the exact same. Objectivity is a difficult thing to determine. We live in a post-truth society. You decide what you want to believe in. Every opinion has a counter-opinion. Every belief has a non-believer. And every wrong has its right. On one hand, it's open-minded, progressive, and shows that critical thought, when engaged with honestly, looking at you guys, is alive and well. On the two hand, it makes it harder for me to call some of these footballer tattoos objectively shit. Football players and tattoos go together like ham and cheese, like a sunny park and a pint, like Marseille FC and human depravity. It's exceedingly rare to see a football player these days with no tattoos. Feels like everyone and their referees have gone under the pen. And it isn't exclusive only to football too. Across the Western world, younger generations have been getting more and more tattoos, though over 40% of Gen Zers haven't one. The paradigm has shifted. Boomers have one less thing they can control over people's bodies, a win for freedom of expression. But why do football tattoos look like that? You know what I mean. Same greyish shade of ink featuring large animals, mainly lions for some reason, and some very surface level pop culture references scattered in throughout. The lion, the clock, and the prison break combo. A living monument to things that are too popular to be forgotten, and too accessible to be sentimental. What's interesting is how similar a lot of these tattoos are to each other. It's like there's a secret style guide stuck on every dressing room wall in the Premier League. On the menu, we've got no patchwork, no tribal, no American tribal, no dots, no halftones, no sigils, no cyber sigils, no dainty bits, and no subtlety. Best I can do for you is a back piece with your own face on it. More on that later. The majority of Premier League player tattoos can be sorted into 5 categories. We've got pop culture, portrait, religion, writing, and raw. Some players have all 5 across their bodies. Some players have all 5 combined into one. Needless to say, these are usually the format that all these kind of tattoos fall into. Let me give you a quick overview. Pop culture. These are tattoos that come from the media these players consume. If we take Subject 49, for example, we can find that most of his tattoos all appear on the Netflix homepage. On his left arm, we have this Stranger Things sleeve, featuring baby Millie Bobby Brown as a centerpiece, making him somehow the second celebrity to have weird contact with her. For the main course, we have a generous prison break roast, and topped off with a garnish of Joker at the bottom. Now, I've watched Stranger Things, and I can tell you, it doesn't get any better after season 1. Garnacho unveiled this tattoo in late 2022, meaning he watched season 4 and still decided to commit to the full sleeve. Put him back under the microscope, I need his head examined. Portrait. These are tattoos that feature a person, or more specifically, a lot of person. Some players like Ivan Toney have portraits commemorating his family. Aww. Players like ex-Chelsea winger Kennedy have his full girlfriend's face on his ribs. Questionable. And some players like Leroy Sané have his entire back adorned with a picture of himself celebrating a goal in a game that they would then lose on aggregate. I mean, the idea from the start is bad. It doesn't help that the entire execution is even worse. And do I even need to mention Richarlison getting the tattoo equivalent of a fan cast movie poster? It features himself, Richarlison, from Tottenham, front and centre in between 2 of Brazil's greatest ever players. I would hate this more, but unfortunately he's one of only like 3 footballers from Brazil that aren't pro Bolsonaro, so I'll let him indulge in this little fanfic. Religion. Football players are a religious bunch. We'll touch on some theories why later on, but for all intents and purposes, if you see a player with more than 5 tattoos, you can be sure they have at least one Jesus piece somewhere in there. As tattoos are haram in the Islamic world, the Christians have stepped up and filled the blank space twofold. Reece James has the Holy Cross on his chest, Giroud has an entire Psalm written on his arm, and Mudryk has a Only Jesus tattoo on his neck. We haven't even left the Chelsea dressing room yet. And if one Jesus piece wasn't enough, what about Pasquale Mazzocchi's entire Jesus back piece? And there must be something in the water around Naples, because take a look at the front and back of Kim Min-jae. Writing. Look, there isn't like an easy way to kind of categorize them all together, but one thing remains clear. You have to get up close to your TV and squint to have a little read of them. These styles are the antithesis to the modern footballer, challenging them to do something they probably haven't done in a while. Read. Examples include phrases, times, essays, the Elvish language, dates, and badly translated Spanish. And the final category is the most prevalent, the most popular, the most fear-inducing, the RAR. Picture this, you're a footballer in your early 20s with no formal education past age of 16, growing up in an incredibly toxic, macho atmosphere where competition is all you know. What to you seems like a metaphor for your twisted and impenetrable psyche? That's right, a lion. You're a tough tackler, a self-proclaimed warrior. You were born in the darkness, molded by it, and then adopted by a shadow. What represents you best? A lion. You're a combative midfielder, a box crusher, a World Cup hero who reignited the fire of a nation, also a massive racist. A lion. You struggled your way to the top, navigated the jungle of your own upbringing. You need to be tough to survive, work alone, and become a mentality monster. Another lion. You're not alone. You have a family. You take great pride in the pride you've created, and down to the wire, you do anything you can to protect them. A lion pack piece. A pack piece, if you will. The lion is an animal of great strength, of solitude, of pride, of wisdom, of anger, of calmness. Basically, it means whatever the fuck you want it to mean. It's just all about the aura. But with our categories established, let's take off our judging caps and put back on our thinking caps. And let's ask, why do they get these types of tattoos? Why are these the most common styles of tattoos we see on footballers? And why are other styles so rarely seen? To begin, let's start with the easy and uncontroversial. Organized religion. It's no secret that many footballers are incredibly religious. You'd be hard-pressed to find a footballer that doesn't attribute some of his success to a higher power, whether it be Jesus, Allah, or David Goggins. But what draws many players to these religious identities? And why do they become so connected spiritually that they feel the need to adorn themselves with all the religious imagery? Luck and talent are the two things that are vital to success in the sport. Not only do you have to be hardworking by putting extra hours in the gym or staying back late for double training sessions, you also have to be lucky that you're in the right place at the right time for scouts to be watching. It's an incredible amount of coincidences that have to line up exactly right in order for you to get a professional contract. And even when you do get signed, you have to hope that you don't get injured, that your growth spurt matches the emerging physicality of the league, they perform consistently in training, and that there just isn't three other players in the exact same position you play. It's all congruent on things turning out exactly right for you. This works in an interesting way. Faced with the myriad of coincidences, fleeting chances, and lucky moments that all had to intertwine perfectly to give you a career, subscribing to the idea that this is all part of God's plan is an easy way for these footballers to grasp control back. In Graham Daniels and Andrew Parker's paper on Christian identities in football, they write that religion is a solid totem of identity that football players can attach themselves onto in such a roller coaster career. The pressures of the playing career make it hard to value achievement in the sport. Wins, losses, draws, the whole adrenaline spike really just molds into one. Personal fulfillment cannot be achieved through these fixtures, especially when a good moment can be derailed by an injury or a long time spent on the bench. Despite these players spending their entire life trying to make it in the sport, once they reach professional status, they tend to disconnect a bit from it. This is where religion steps in, giving players a new pillar to devote themselves to. Christian fulfillment provides a direct counter to the performance-based achievement metrics of football. It instead places more focus on worshipping and serving God, something less quantifiable than the performance-based metrics used by coaches, fans, and other players alike. In their eyes, God willed them out of their lower socioeconomic backgrounds by giving them the talent, opportunities, and luck to go far in the game. If you're in any way religious leaning and all of a sudden achieve this windfall of success, I wouldn't blame you for going all in on the God train. It's a self-sufficient cycle. Players who end up making it then attribute it towards a higher power, reaffirming their beliefs, and then they end up getting more tattoos to show their devotion. Those who didn't make it obviously don't get full chess pieces expressing how God gave them everything. They get into crypto instead. Just what I don't get is how absolutely aura-less these tattoos turn out being. Just pure bullshit on a handwritten font or a portrait of Jesus on your shoulder. Form-fitted and utilitarianist. We didn't give the Catholic Church a full country made of palaces to end up with the blessed belly. So what gives? What's the reason for the poor taste? The Catholic Church has a centuries-strong creative direction, a real brick-and-mortar type of establishment, and football players have unlimited amounts of money to give to these artists. So why do they all turn out so naff and tacky? It's realism. It's black and grey realism. It's the crushed velvet of tattoo art. Realism to the art world is what Christopher Nolan is to the film world. The idea of talent and spectacle. What an unthinking person would think is the pinnacle of that field, but under close examination, it all falls apart in the details. Is creating a photorealistic eye through nothing but ink and a pen physically impressive? Yes, I can't do that. I only graduated to Lime Lips. But is it artistically impressive? I don't think so, at least in my opinion. But this whole part is now my opinion. You can call my tattoo shit, that's fine. This one looks like the Snapchat logo. Taking images from a photo, or sometimes AI, and replicating it one-to-one on a canvas, or in this case human skin, isn't exactly pushing the boundaries of art. Aside from what the image actually looks like, there isn't a lot of depth or artistic interpretation to it. A photorealistic tattoo of a line, a clock, or a compass is exactly that. A Google image that's been copy and pasted onto your shoulder. Its meaning has only been ascribed to it after it's been made, not at all during the actual artistic process. Footballers are not artists. I'm generalizing here, but typically boys have been plucked out of their mixed gender schools, stunting their education and their studies, and put in these dressing rooms for 20 years in these hyper-masculine, toxic environments, tend not to be very artistically or politically curious. Skills such as media literacy, taste refinement, and actual literacy are lost in the 24/7 high-octane, testosterone-filled culture of the sport. There just isn't enough time for them to care or want to broaden their horizons. They spend all their days physically exerting themselves for a very mentally stressful event that happens at the end of every single week, sometimes even twice in 1 week. So when they go home at night and want to turn their brains off, it's understandable. It's what leads these players into picking Interstellar as their favourite film or Drake as their go-to artist. Their taste buds are underdeveloped and they don't want to try anything else other than vanilla ice cream or legumes after brief periods of intermittent fasting. And it's why we rarely ever see other different types of tattoo styles in the Premier League. Patchwork tattoos are few and far between, and I have not seen one single instance of cybersigilism despite being the most popular tattoo trend right now. You'd think with how easily influenced these footballers are with pop culture fads, that at least one of them would have gotten it by now. The conformist nature of the dressing room and the lack of personal artistic curiosity has led to this flattening of all tattoo styles. What'll it be, fellas? Mustard or ketchup? To the footballer, Peaky Blinders is the greatest TV show of all time, so of course they're going to get a portrait tattoo to commemorate it. And hey, while we're at it, let's brush our teeth and get it framed too. But I understand my role in this, and it would be hypocritical for me, a man with tattoos, to not at least shed some light on some designs I do actually like from footballers that, you know, have some good tattoos. You might notice a theme. Jackson Irvine, a cool guy who is more woke than theoretically the most woke club in Germany, Free Palestine. I like patchwork tattoos and I like flowers, and he's got both. I also like that he modelled for Mundial and no one could really tell it was him. He's got that ASOS model look nailed down to a T. Hector Bellerin, another sexy woke footballer playing for one of my favourite clubs in Real Betis. His back tattoo is one of the most interesting pieces I've seen, with a less is more attitude and some really cool intersecting and overlapping lines. He also got his god-awful sleeve, a remnant from when England really colonised him, blasted over with some mosaic patchwork, which, again, looks sick. Michael Elise, a lot of fun, playful designs on his arm, like a tic-tac-toe board, a playing card, and a peace sign. But it's because Michael Elise loves fun. Just look how happy he is. And Nick Voltamata. I'm a sucker for patchwork, and he's got a finsta for fashion. Need I say any more? Look, maybe it's because I'm not religious and didn't vote reform that a lot of these footballer tattoos don't really resonate with me. But they're free to do whatever they want with their bodies. Hey, they keep it in better shape than I do with mine, so they're fully in their rights to give out to me about my own eating habits. Same way I think getting a tattoo of your ex-footballer friend's kids is weird. Thanks for watching.